Hello and welcome back to the Know-It-Alls Talkball podcast. I'm here with Juan. As you can see, a little bit of a different setting.
Yeah, changed up the setting.
Yeah.
We haven't really moved that much. It's just 10 steps out to the backyard from the couch. But, you know, we're professionalizing, you know?
I don't think moving outside of a place and recording a podcast is professionalizing, but yeah.
It's a public podcast now.
Yeah.
So we have our crowd behind us. You can't see them, but they're there.
And they don't make any noise. But I guarantee you our fans are here. All 7 of them. But anyway, if you do hear some background noise, we do apologize, but I hope it adds to a little bit
It's
of...
way too hot in my room, to be honest. We can't film in there.
It's summer ambiance, I think, is what we'll call it.
Here it gets to 20 degrees in the Netherlands, and it's like, I'm melting, you know?
Yeah,
and my
exactly.
room gets hit with the sun. It's probably like 30 degrees in there. Like, unless you want this podcast to be a shirtless one, you can let us know in the comments.
I think that's the next professionalizing step, you know? We go for naked podcast, yeah. But anyway, let's get into it. We're here to give you our Premier League team of the season. And yeah, it's going to be the best team of the season that there is out there on the internet. So let's get straight into it.
Yeah, let's do it. So
do you want to kick us off with goalkeeper?
Let's start in goal. I do think that this year's team of the season is maybe one of the least controversial ones, in the sense that I feel like every position is more or less set. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's not a whole lot of leeway in terms of, especially once you get past, I think defense maybe has a few other options, but I think once you get past there, it sort of picks itself.
I feel like midfield and attack is, But let's start with goalkeeper. So I am going to go with Nick Pope, Newcastle's goalkeeper. You know, part of the best defense in the league. They've conceded.
Sorry, I'm just professionalizing.
We are a very professional podcast. So Nick Pope, 29 goals conceded so far, the best defense in the league. Despite their attack faltering at times after the World Cup, I feel like that defense and Nick Pope kind of kept them churning, kept them in this top 4 fight. And now, honestly, between them and United, I think a month ago we would have said United are probably favorites to keep that spot. Now it seems like Newcastle almost certified it and United are free-falling. But anyways, back to Nick Pope. He doesn't have the most insane post expected shot per save. He's on 29 conceded goals and he should have conceded 29. So in that sense, he's not really overperforming, but he's not underperforming. No. And I think the game against Arsenal proved it, that there are times where that Newcastle defense gets torn to shreds by the big teams, and he made big save after big save. They did lose 2-0, but honestly, with the chances
there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. You know? I think that he's been pretty great all season. He's been a very good signing for Newcastle. Did they sign him this year or last year? I don't remember.
I have no idea to tell you. I feel like it was maybe last year.
Maybe last year,
but I could be wrong.
With Burnley, right?
But yeah, I've gone for the same. Yeah. Nick Pope, 13 clean sheets. I think he's around the 75.7 save percentage, which I think is the best in the Prem. Maybe second.
Third highest.
I think Pickford and Alisson are up there. Yeah. But this was actually not the easiest spot to pick. I've gone with a couple of honourable mentions in there. So you've got Aaron Ramsdale, obviously amazing season. I think what was the game the other day that we were
Newcastle,
watching?
Right? When he made all those insane saves.
Had a really good game. Even when they lost 4-1 against City, he actually made that.
I completely agree. I thought against City he was amazing. He conceded 4 goals, but wow, some of the saves he was making on Haaland, he's a big time keeper. It's just that when you look at the goals, I think once Saliba's been injured, they've been conceding a lot more, and maybe that's not his fault, but he has conceded 10 more goals than Nick Pope. Is it that big a deal? You also have to take defense into account, but I think Ramsdale deserves. I think Pickford deserves a shout. I think he might be single-handedly almost keeping Everton up.
Exactly. I've got Ramsdale, Pickford, Alisson, and David De Gea. Because he has the most clean sheets in the league. I tell you what, a little bit of tidbit on David De Gea. I mean, obviously...
That's a bullshit stat, man. I'm sorry. 15 clean sheets. Yeah, you conceded 7. You conceded 6. You conceded
But the guy is an anomaly. He makes some... On a week-to-week basis, he will make some of the best saves in the Premier League. But also some of the worst mistakes. And just against West Ham, this is where we watched the game. I'm reliving it right now in my head. And it was such a dreadful attempt at a save.
Terrible mistake. Especially, I think what highlighted that mistake was when we watched City play Real Madrid, and De Bruyne had that chance where Courtois with just 3 fingers managed to palm it out with just a strong hand.
And the shot had so much more power than Benrahma's.
It was way better finish. And literally the second Courtois saved it, we were both like, wow, that makes De Gea's look so much worse. But before we keep destroying De Gea, which I'm sure we'll come to it, let's move to our right back spot. Who do you have at right back?
I've gone with Kieran Trippier.
Okay.
Yeah. No real stats to add on this. I mean, Kieran Trippier isn't a stats guy.
I mean, 7 goals and assists from fullback is not bad.
It's pretty decent, yeah. But he's one of the reasons. Him and Nick Pope are two of the reasons why Newcastle are in the position that they're in. And just a really class, solid right back that brings so much defensively, but also a fair amount going forward as well in terms of set pieces. Whipping a ball into the box. He's really good at it. I've gone with Trippier. Who have you got on
let's stick on Trippier because I put him at left back actually because I don't think that there were many outstanding left backs. I think I had Zinchenko originally. But I think he's been pretty poor the last 2 months or so. It seems like with the title charge, Arsenal's dip in form also coincided with Zinchenko's dip in form, which I think shows you how influential he was when he was playing that well. For example, against City, I thought he was awful. That 4-1, wasn't there one where he got absolutely destroyed? And then also against Liverpool, he got megged by Trent, and then Trent played it in for Firmino to score the equalizer. I think his confidence, you can see his confidence is a bit down. I think the dip in form coincides with Zinchenko's dip in form, which is why I put Trippier there. Because honestly, if it wasn't Zinchenko, I didn't really have any other fullback.
So I have gone with Zinchenko at left back.
Okay, so let's talk about him now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was really good all season and just a really solid defensive player. I don't know that he offers that much going forward, really.
I think he offers a lot in build-up play. You can see the way that they build up, and I think that's defensively a big key issue that Arsenal have been facing, that they've been figured out, that if you catch Arsenal on the counter, Zinchenko is nowhere near the left flank. He's in midfield, and he's parked up there, and if you're not playing Partey, then there's no way nobody's going to cover that ground. And I think that's something that teams have kind of circled on throughout the season.
Who have you got at, I believe we've still got the left back open for you?
So the left back is Trippier. Yeah. I don't really have much to add. Leadership quality, I think, is insane. What he brings to this team, a lot of experience. He's won trophies, not surprisingly, not at Spurs. He won it at Atletico Madrid, had big games in the Champions League. And,
for England as well.
For England, so, On right back, I went for John Stones. I went for John Stones because there was a time where it was, the discourse was Haaland didn't join the right team. This team is so one-dimensional.
Yeah,
it's stuff I was saying
for all of 3 weeks.
For all of 3 weeks,
when you guys had a dip in form.
Literally. And I think that when he was tinkering with that, he finally found Stones as a guy to play. And the guy's playing CDM and right back in the same game.
No, when you started pointing that out to me, how Pep's got him playing, it's just ridiculous.
He's undroppable. You can't be like, oh, great, a CDM spot, an extra CDM spot is open for Calvin Phillips. No, because John Stones, that's a John Stones role. Nobody can play that role.
No,
except John Stones.
He has been playing amazing in that position.
And Rico Lewis. Rico Lewis is the only one that's shown he can play that right back CDM spot, but obviously not at the level of confidence as John Stones. And I think that, second highest pass accuracy in the league while playing as a CDM and a right back.
I kind of disregard that stat a little bit when you're playing. When you're playing as a centre back, and that it's very easy to build up your.
But he does create for players that have started more than half of the season, so 18 games. He has the 4th highest pass attempts in the league. So it's not like he's just which also. Again, it does kind of go with your point because City just hold the ball a lot, so we pass the ball a lot. Obviously, Stones is going to average 40 passes a game. But I think he's been so impressive. And this is a guy who, like, last season, everyone was like, let's sell him, let's get rid of him. Like, the Stones project didn't work. Like, yeah, he has a few good seasons where he's, like, God tier, and then he shit again. So
no, I was definitely a Stones hater. But
yeah,
like,
I've always backed
season,
him. But I think, like, this year, he's literally become, like, next to Rodri and Haaland, he's undroppable. Like, you can't take this guy out at the moment because he's the only one that can play the role. Yeah. And I think he deserves the credit.
Should we move on? Because I feel like we're 3 positions in. Let's speed this up a little bit. Do we have the same? I've gone with Lisandro Martinez and Ruben Dias.
So let's start with Ruben Dias because we have that. We have the same guy. He's best
so
back in the world, in my opinion.
There are literally no stats that back this up because this guy. I was looking at it and I was like, okay, time to get some stats to back up my decision because I know that Ruben Dias is going to be the guy that I'm going to put in there. The guy just defends without defensive actions. Like the guy has very little blocks, very little tackles. But he gets the job done, and he's there to put in the big challenge when it's needed.
He's like the balls of the City team.
He's a Van Dijk. He's a Van Dijk kind of player. He's literally Man City's Van Dijk, except he hasn't dropped off a cliff yet. It's
I personally think he's got to start. He has to. I think there's something about playing for City that Pep gets a lot of the credit for the way that players play, which fair enough, he's a genius. But we have to start like highlighting individual quality in this team outside of De Bruyne and Haaland. Because Ruben Dias is one of the best center backs in the world. Like, I think he easily has been like up there top 5 easily.
I mean, he's been on the top of his game for like 2-3 seasons
since he's joined City. He's been impeccable. Like he hasn't put a foot wrong.
Yeah, I feel like centre backs these days have a very short lifespan as well at the top of the game.
Yeah,
because
he's 25, man.
He's 25.
Yeah, he's 25. He's gonna keep playing forever for City.
How old is Lisandro Martinez?
Lisandro is 24, maybe around the same age.
Jesus Christ. And that brings me to the second player I've gotten there, which is Lisandro Martinez. And this is one that can be backed up by just hard stats because the man loves to fly into a challenge. So what have I got here? I've got he's in the 94th percentile. Oh, sorry, the 94th percentile for tackles. He makes 2.48 per 90.
That's quite a lot for a center back.
It's very high for a center back.
That makes me think Casemiro's not doing his job.
Then has 1.86 blocks per game, which is in the 95th percentile of players in his position.
Wow, that guy, he's like what's that other center back you guys had that made the crazy, Phil Jones? He's like the Phil Jones regen when it comes to blocking. There'll be a shot all the way on the other side of the box, and you just see Lisandro he throw himself at it.
And Phil Jones got quite famous for his, his head challenge, flying in with his head. But I hope to God that he's better than Phil Jones.
I think he's proving it.
Yeah, he has proven it so far. But I think, outside of Rashford, has been United's most important player this season as well.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, the only reason I can't put Lisandro in there is because he has conceded 7 and 6 in different games. He conceded 6 against Haaland and City, and he conceded 7 against Liverpool. I went with William Saliba. I think that he's transformed this whole team. Like, he has transformed the way this team plays, the way this team, this Arsenal team, again, like, defensively.
Arsenal have conceded a fair amount of goals as well.
But they've started conceding a lot more once he's been out injured. Like, I think since he got injured against Sporting, this Arsenal team, that's when their dip started because, we make a big deal about Gabriel Jesus' link-up play, Xhaka playing in a more forward role, whatever. But Saliba, he was 21 when the season started, and 2-3 months in, we could tell this guy's the best center back in the league, maybe.
But he did have a great spell on loan, and everyone was hoping that he would come back to Arsenal and provide what he has provided.
Yeah, which I think is insane at 22 because he came in and he immediately took a starting spot. He was like, I'm taking a starting spot.
Not that Arsenal really had anything to offer in terms of centre backs.
Just Gabriel, and I think that Gabriel has looked good this year, but you can tell that when he doesn't play with Saliba, he's a lot more reckless and doesn't look as comfortable and clean. I think that Saliba just brings a calmness to the whole team. And even I thought when we beat Arsenal 3-1 away, I thought he was so good against Haaland. Like, I thought that he kept himself composed, everything. Sure, you can't sometimes stop some of the chances City creates, but I thought he was very good. And the team has just been worse since he's been injured.
Shall we move on? Because I feel like we've taken quite a long... But I feel like from this point out, I'm pretty sure we're going to have...
Okay, just name your 3 center mids and we see which ones we have the same.
Yeah, so I've gone CDM Rodri, centre mid Odegaard, centre mid De Bruyne.
Exactly the same.
Obviously.
I mean, those have been the 3 best maybe players in the whole league outside of Haaland, you could say.
I mean, you could even make arguments for that. Those are the maybe not Odegaard, but De Bruyne best centre mid in the world. Rodri best holding.
I think Odegaard deserves those shouts. I mean, 15 non-penalty goals in this season, which is the
Arsenal's
highest.
top scorer.
Arsenal's top scorer, Martinelli. Yeah. Like, I think it's the highest ever in a Premier League season by a midfielder that doesn't take penalties. It's a bit of a weird stat because it's like the highest ever by a guy who doesn't take any penalties.
Yeah, but then you probably.
But then Yaya Toure scored 18 without penalties and then scored a further like 6 penalties. You get what I mean? So like, it's like the highest for a guy who hasn't taken penalties, but actually it's not the highest.
If you exclude everywhere,
exactly.
It's
a bit of a weird stat. Because everybody, like football Twitter, Arsenal fans were like, "Oh my God, Odegaard did this." It's like, yeah, okay, but he didn't actually because the record's still Yaya. But I think he's been insane, like 22 goals and assists from the position.
Just watching all of these 3 guys, just watching them play is a privilege and an honor. Like it is, De Bruyne especially, the other night against Real Madrid was, one of his less good games, I think. Yeah, and I was sitting there and I go, De Bruyne hasn't had a good game. 30 seconds later, the guy puts in what I think will be one of the great Champions League goals, especially if you guys go on to win the Champions League. But I think we can.
Assists and 27 starts as well.
Yeah.
And just to touch a bit on Rodri, he's been the second most minutes for City, actually in the Prem, but in total the most minutes for City. He started 50 games already.
91% pass completion.
And he plays higher up the pitch now. It's not like he's like a pass merchant from CDM.
No, his progressive passing is off the charts as well. Let's see if I can find it here. I've just written ranks extremely highly in progressive passing. I didn't bother with the stat. But trust me, he is very high in progressive passing stats and in progressive dribbles as well. Bringing the ball forward.
And he pops in with a few rockets here and there. Like,
pops in with a couple of rockets. All right. Yeah.
Let's move to the forward line.
And I think these 3 pick themselves as well, right? No, they don't. I see you've got someone different in there.
Yeah, so I also looked at your notes. Your left wings are different. So let's just go right wing and striker. We both have Bukayo Saka and Erling Haaland. I mean, like, let's start Saka having his best season to date easily. 24 goals and assists, 13
he's
goals
world
and
class.
I think he's elite.
Yeah.
I think there was a period of time where Arsenal were like, where it was like, oh shit, they're 10 points ahead of City or whatever it was, where you could have made the case that Saka was the best right winger in the world, easily.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he has dropped off a little bit, but he's also playing an insane amount of football.
Yeah, I think also in terms of stats, he may have dropped off, but when you see him play, he's still
so
incredible to watch. Like he's a great player.
He's insane, and I think he's from the Arsenal team, like the forward line. He's the only one that doesn't really have a replacement. Like Martinelli, you could shift in. Trossard, same for Jesus. And Nketiah can play through the middle if Jesus is out. Like Saka's out. I don't really know who they play. Like I guess they would play Trossard, but
just someone who's a left winger who can maybe play on the right.
I think he's so important, and you can go on about Haaland because I like to hear it.
Yeah, Haaland is just to anyone that thought that he wasn't going to be the player that he is. It was so obvious to me when he was at Dortmund.
Player at Salzburg.
Yeah, at Salzburg. The guy burst onto the scene playing in the Champions League, It was like, oh, who's this cat? He scored I can't remember how many he scored in that first season. Instantly went to Dortmund, instantly scored a bunch of goals there. And people still thought it was a good idea to doubt him. And now he has 35 goals, has broken the all-time, not just in 38 games, but in 44 games.
44, I think.
Alan Shearer's and Andy Cole's record, which is just ridiculous. And, little tidbit, out of the top 10 scorers for this season, there's only one player in those top 10 that has played less minutes than he has. What?
His goal scoring rate is ridiculous.
It's absolutely insane.
And he's chipped in with 7 assists. For a striker, like, what the fuck? 7 assists? All right.
Please.
Oh,
there is a B,
and we have
right on my hand.
These are, it's going on the beer. No. Anyways,
There's more important things to worry about.
Let's move on to, left wing, I see you've gone for Marcus Rashford.
Of course I have. Who else could it be? I see that you've gone for Gabriel Martinelli, which honestly isn't a bad shout, but I think Marcus
They're on the
Rashford...
same goals. Both on 15.
Yeah.
Is Rashford on 15? Yeah, right?
He is on 16 goals, 5 assists in the Prem. And he does have a lot outside of the Prem as well. I just think Rashford, when I've seen him play, and I've seen him play a lot this season, obviously, because I do watch a lot of Man United, I think he's just a little bit more impressive to watch as well than Martinelli when he's in full flight, which he has been this season. So that's why I've gone with Rashford. Maybe there's a little bit of bias there, but yeah.
I can't fault you for going Rashford. I think as a player, he's been more important to United than Martinelli is to Arsenal. I just think that this guy 4 years ago he was playing the Brazilian second division, that is insane.
And there was a lot of doubt around him when he was at Arsenal.
Because when he came in, a super raw guy, obviously a lot of pace, and he had you could tell that he had some sort of shooting into him, but he still needed to refine everything. And what Arteta has, the way he's molded this guy into a ferocious winger, so physical, so fast, insane dribbler.
So willing to take on players as well.
The second goal that ended up going an own goal, Martinelli runs almost the whole pitch to create that goal. He's a dog. He runs from minute 1 to minute 90. I love watching him play. He's going to be him and Saka. If Arsenal don't end up winning this league title, of course it'll be a huge, it'd be painful if you're an Arsenal fan, obviously. But wow, you have these two guys that are 22 years old and they're tearing up the league now. Can you imagine what they'll be like in 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to jinx it because I still want to see these guys develop. But you never know with football, you know?
Never know. You never know.
You never know what's going to happen in 3 years.
Quickly, I don't think we had discussed it, but manager of the year? Who's managing your Premier League team of the season?
I think... either Eddie Howe or Erik ten Hag.
Really? Not Mikel. I went for Mikel Arteta, man.
I think it's tough because you have Erik ten Hag who's come in and done it, but I think he's done a really good job.
I think he's
with Man United.
To a certain extent.
His results against the top 6
are dreadful, though.
Really bad. Really bad. Yeah. I'm pretty sure away from home, he hasn't won a single game against the top 6.
And at home, you beat us, Arsenal. Oh, Liverpool. Okay, at home, it's actually okay.
Yeah, we're actually all right at home. Yeah. But yeah, I think any of those 3. I think Eddie Howe has been incredible.
The only reason I went for Arteta is because I was thinking if we would have started this podcast a year earlier, we would have made so many videos saying Arteta out. And now the guy almost had them, they could still win the league title, They're not
going to win the league title.
I don't think so either. But a year ago, we would have had the conversation is, should Arsenal stick with Arteta or not? We could have done a fixing Arsenal and been fire Arteta. Wow, honestly, who could have predicted if they would have had Champions League football, it would have been an overperformance. To push City this much, still now, insane. I think he's been insane.
Yeah.
But that more or less does it for Premier League team of the season. We hope you enjoyed. Let us know who you put in your Premier League team of the season in the comments down below, and we will see you next time. Nice.